Hello everybody, my name is KingStix, and in this video we're going to be going over the top 5 best jungle routes to carry solo queue. I have some exciting news. GameLeap and I have partnered up to help you rank up fast. This jungle pathing guide is one of the many videos we're creating together, and if you're serious about winning more games, GameLeap is the best shot to make it happen fast. Click on my link in the description or in the pinned comment to get a discount on your membership so you can watch all my videos on the site and much more. The first route we're going to be looking at is for power clear junglers. On a power clear jungler, you're going to want to start on your red buff. That is because red side of the jungle has the most gold and experience. If possible, get a leash on your red buff to start. If not, that's okay. You'll just probably end up smiting it and then move on to your golems. In this case, I'm doing it on Evelynn, who is one of the better power clear junglers. If you're not familiar with power clear junglers, it would be things like Kayn, Evelynn, and 𝐒𝐿, champions who can take Hunter's Talisman and blow through all of their camps and have relatively high HP. This clear will maximize your gold and XP, allowing you to hit level 6 faster than the enemy jungler and to also hit level 6 very safely without taking too many risks, thus allowing you to consistently carry your games more frequently. After golems, you want to move on to your raptors. Whether you're Kayn, 𝐒𝐿, or Evelynn, make sure to hit the whole camp with your abilities. That way you'll be applying Hunter's Talisman, burn, and heal to the full camp. After you finish your raptors, you're going to want to move on to your wolves, then do your blue and 𝐒𝐿. Doing your camps in a linear order will allow them to spawn in the same linear order, so you can start back at the beginning of the clear and work your way through. This is the fastest way to hit level 6 on power clear junglers that struggle to gank in the early game. Thus, you can negate that weak part of their kit and skip straight into the early mid game at level 6 where your champion is quite strong. Even if you are in lower elo where ganking early game is highly important, don't worry, after you finish this full clear you will have an opportunity. After you finish your blue and 𝐒𝐿, the scuttle crab should be spawning in at 3:15. If you get a leash, you should be there exactly on time. If you don't, you'll be there a few seconds late. Use the vision plant to scout ahead to make sure the enemy jungler isn't there, and then pull the scuttle away from the enemy's jungle towards your top lane or towards the wall. That way, if they do show up, you should be able to take it in time. After you've taken scuttle, you have 3 options. You can gank top lane, you can gank mid lane, or you can invade the enemy's jungle. If you think the enemy jungle has left behind golems or raptors, this is a great option. It's a really safe way to get experience and to propel yourself into your level 6 that much faster. You don't really have time to invade the jungle and gank. You have to really choose one or the other. After you've done one or the other, you're then going to want to recall no later than 4 minutes and 10 seconds because you need to run straight to your golems from base after buying your items. That way you will get there right as they spawn in. And remember, golems give the most experience in gold out of any single monster jungle camp. And the first time you take them, they give 30% less XP than they normally do, so taking them for the second time is massive, which is why you're going to be doing golems right after your red buff to start with. And then of course, after you take your golems, your raptors should be coming up. So you just run straight to your raptors, then you go to your wolves, and then you can do your 𝐒𝐿 and then look for another gank. And around that point, you should be level 6 and in a massive power spike. The next jungle clear I'm going to be showing you is for aggressive early game junglers, things like Kindred and 𝐿𝐿 that can 1v1 most enemy junglers. Once again, you're going to be starting out on your red buff. It's really important since it gives the healing and the extra damage. You're going to want to kite your red buff towards your next camp, which will be your blue buff. This is for champions that utilize Hunter's Machete. Hunter's Machete has issues with taking raptor camps, especially in the early game. You can take a golem camp, but it will take longer than a Hunter's Talisman champion. So we're going to play to our strengths and go straight from our red buff to our blue buff. You'll take minimal damage this way, and your clear speed will be fairly fast. Since they are both single target monsters, you can blow them down very quickly. After you've taken your blue buff, you're going to want to make your way over into the enemy's jungle. Try to hug the Baron wall. Don't get too close to the pixel brush because if it is warded, they will see you. But if you hug the wall and then just jump over, they shouldn't even know you're there. You're then going to want to lay a ward in the bush and then hop over the wall and take the golems. This is a great setup. If the enemies show up at their red buff, you can jump over the wall and kill them and steal the red. If not, you have plenty of time to take the golems and then wait for them. Try to leave the original medium golem That way the golems won't respawn back in until the enemy finishes clearing them, and at this point you can just wait on the bush to kill them and take the red buff after they've started it. This clear is insanely powerful in low elo and against weak early game jungle champions like tanks, or off meta jungle champions like Wukong or Qiyana, things that are relatively low health in the jungle. This next jungle clear is used a lot more in Korea, and it is essentially a vertical jungle slash 3 camp gank jungle route. In this example, I will be using 𝐒𝐿 and starting on raptors. This is great because you don't need a leash, so the enemies shouldn't know where you're starting, which will give you a great element of surprise. I'm going to Q over the wall to slam them together to do extra damage and to get extra goo blobs. That way I can use my W more often and keep my HP up. After my red buff, I want to do my golems and then look for a gank on the closest lane. In this case, it is the bot lane. The best part of this route is people don't expect it, and you can get off a lot of early game pressure. So if you're in low elo, or if the lane that you're going to be ganking off of this route has a lot of early game damage and CC, this is an amazing option. For example, if I had a Thresh bot lane with a Draven, this would be an amazing choice. Traditionally, when you do this clear, you start on red buff, then do raptors, then golems, but with a champion like 𝐒𝐿, you can get away with starting on raptors. When you come up for the gank on the enemies, ideally you walk up to them, but if they are pushed back, you can open up with your E and then use your Q. But once again, in an ideal situation, you just walk up on top of the enemies, apply your red buff slow, and then you land your Q and knock them together. Once you're CCing them with your Q, then you want to use your E, since your E is very easy to dodge with a flash or just simply by them moving out of the way. This clear is great for champions who have really good early gank potential like 𝐒𝐿 or Taliyah and Nidalee, and want to get out some extra pressure onto a strong lane. After you finish your clear route and you do your gank, you can move into the enemy's jungle if you think it is up and it's safe. If you can't 1v1 them at this point, you can back and then do the rest of your jungle. If the enemies did invade you, you'll be missing some camps, but then you can just path down to take your raptors and your golems once again and repeat the gank cycle. This clear route is specifically for single target junglers who want to hit level 3 as fast as possible so they can get out on the map and assert their pressure. And obviously they start machete as well. The main pro to machete junglers is they tend to be strong in 1v1s and bullying enemy junglers, and we're going to take full advantage of that. Once again, starting on your red buff, it's a safe start. I used to recommend starting on the enemy's red buff on Warwick, but people are very familiar with that now, and you're likely to be stopped and killed. It's still viable if your top laner will follow you, but for the sake of this video and the sake of this clear out, we're just going to be starting on our red buff. Next, we're going to be skipping our golems and our raptors and moving straight into our wolf camp. The idea of this clear route is to hit level 3, have double buffs, and then immediately start ganking or invading the enemy's jungle. And by skipping the raptors and the golems, we should have a faster clear route than the enemy jungler and probably be able to kill them as well. After taking wolves, we're going to take blue and Gromp to get that level 3, and since they are both single target camps, I'll be able to blow through them very quickly. After I take both of these camps, I have several options. I can either gank the top laner, I can gank the mid laner, or I can invade the enemy's jungle and try to kill him or take his camps from him, just depending on the situation and if that is a viable option. Once again, this clear route is for safely hitting level 3 as fast as possible on a single clear target jungler, not having to take advantage of any enemy jungle camps to hit that level 3. This is the low risk version of that Kindred jungle clear I showed you previously. The final jungle clear I'm going to be showing you is a cheesy one, and it is on Fiddlesticks. First off, you're going to want to lay your pink ward to defend your blue buff since you're going to be starting on the enemy's wolves. This clear does work better whenever the enemy's blue buff is on the top side of the map. That way you know for a fact 99% of the time they'll start on the red buff for the better leash, and since red buff is the better camp. In lower elo, it is common for junglers to start on their blue buff if that's where their bot lane is, so you do need to be wary of that. In this situation though, we're just going to play it as if their blue buff was on the top side of the map and this was the best decision. You're going to want to go in with your oracles on to make sure nothing's warded, pop the plant at 130, and then use your crow on the wolves. Kite it out, make sure to only auto the big one, and then you're going to use your crow for the second time to pretty much finish off the camp, and then you just need a few more autos. Next, you're going to want to drag the blue buff and the Gromp really close together without resetting them. That is the key. Don't reset them. And then once you have them really close together, you're going to want to use your crow. Sometimes your crow RNG is really bad on the wolves and you'll need to smite the big wolf, and that's okay. In this situation, we got lucky. So we can get away with smiting either the blue buff or the Gromp, whichever one we need to. We end up smiting the blue, and now we are out of here. In this situation, the enemy jungler started on his red buff, probably did golems or raptors, and we just wiped out his whole jungle. He's in a very bad spot, and we have a pink ward on our blue side, so if he does invade, we would have seen it coming, we could have reacted, we could have done something off of it. Next, we're going to move into our golems, and then after that, we're going to do our red buff, our raptors, and then clear into our blue side jungle. This is going to give us the maximum amount of experience and gold possible in the early game for Fiddlesticks. A lot of you are probably saying, well, Fiddlesticks isn't very common. That is true. You can do a similar path on 𝐒𝐿 jungle. It's not quite the same, but very similar. You basically start on the enemy's raptor camp and then kill them on their red buff by smiting it away from them and just autoing and queuing them to death. If they're not on their red buff, then you just take their red buff at that point and then go into your blue side jungle. I really like this Fiddlesticks clear route though, since it gives you so much gold and experience, and Fiddlesticks desperately needs that level 6 for those fat ultimate ganks. Once you are level 6, of course, I highly recommend you gank the bot lane, since Fiddlesticks Ultimate gives you that juicy AoE. Before you guys click off this video, don't forget to go check out GameLeap. For those of you wondering, well, what's really the difference between GameLeap and watching YouTube videos? The problem with YouTube videos is that they're very basic and outdated. That's why I highly recommend you sign up with GameLeap. The courses we're making together are extremely in-depth and up-to-date with the current game. Several new videos are released every single day, and I would never ask you guys to check it out if I didn't truly believe in it and if I didn't think it would help you out tremendously. I'm already making lots of new videos on the site that you don't want to miss out on. So click on my KingStix link right on the pinned comment or in the description below to get your discount and get started. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.